Hi everybody, this is episode 1 of the Your Revolution podcast with me, Luke Scott, episode I think 95 all up. So we're here at HQ Revolution Personal Training for a workout, or for the start of a workout with one Jane Erbacher. She's actually the person hiding the phone right now. What we are going to do is, I think, a little bit of a ski workout, but let's go and get into it.
So today what we're going to do, I've become one of those people that has everything on their iPad. I'm not one of those people that takes photos with my iPad though. But something I've realised is that it's very important for me to, as Project Ski that I am now, I don't just have results that show that I'm willing to do the work, but I've also created an athlete team, so a Project Ski athlete team, and they follow specific programs by me, which centre around the ski and which centre around movements that complement an improvement in performance on the ski. So I absolutely believe not just in walking my own talk as an athlete, but in walking my own talk as a coach and enabling others to perform in the way that they can, and upholding that. So what we're actually up to today is week 2, and it's the 3rd day. So it's here. So what we're going to actually work on today is, it's called ski specific strength. So we do a really clear warm up. So I always start with 10 minutes breathing of your choice. So you can choose the bike, ski, row, or you can run, but something that's going to get you a little bit sweaty and a little bit warm. And then we always go into a really clear specific warm up. So this is activation, mobility, and engagement that's going to prep you for the workout. So today what we're going to go through is, we're going to go through some banded good mornings. We're going to activate through our posterior chain with that, because when we're skiing, a lot of it...
It's my specialty, the posterior chain.
Yeah, that booty of yours. And so with the ski, a lot of people don't realise that the recovery portion of the ski, the up phase, is all about glute engagement and posterior chain. So it's important that the warm up actually reflects an understanding in the biomechanics of the movement that you're doing as your main workout. So then we've got a bit of crab walk, which Luke is just going to love because it's all about booty. And then some upper back, so banded pull aparts. An ailment of modern society is absolutely that we're spent in this position, whether we're hunched over an iPad, whether we're hunched over a phone, whether we're at the desk or we're driving, or my favourite place to be, which is chopping vegetables in the kitchen. We are in this internally rotated position, so banded pull apart's a great movement to give you really great posture. Again, with the ski, as you start to get fatigued, you're going to go to that position, and we want to really uphold the integrity of your posture. And so we're trying to train that throughout the warm-up as well as throughout the movement. Then we're going to get into some more dynamic movement that enables you to ski well, and it's, for me, the ski is a combination of 2 movements, and the first is a ball slam, powerful ball slam, and the second is what, Luke?
Kettlebell swing, I'm thinking.
Yeah, so the first time I ever got on a ski erg, Luke said to me, it's just like a kettlebell swing, and I was like, this guy is crazy. And now all I'm teaching people all the time.
Way back in the day when you remember.
3 or
on
4
those, look
years
at
ago.
those OG
I know.
ski ergs.
Originals. I love it. And so, and then a little bit of blowing out the cobwebs with a bit of a max ski work. And then we go into the testing for the day, which is going to be either a 500 metre ski or a 1 minute all out. So it's to test the power that you've been developing over the weeks with this ski program, or in my case, the power I've been developing. And then we go into what I call a ski-specific strength endurance workout. So we spend 7 minutes doing deadlifts at body weight, and we accumulate as many reps with perfect form as possible. And then we go into some pull-ups, chest to bar, you do as many as you can in 7 minutes. And then we're going to go into pause back squat with a jump. So what I've decided is, when I'm training for strength for the ski, I need to have explosive power. I need to have a lot of, need to have a very high lactic threshold in my quads, and I need to have a really strong posterior chain and butt, and I also need to have a really great pulling strength. So
We're going to help on the roller as well, I'm imagining.
So much. It will just help with life.
Yeah.
It makes life better.
Yeah.
So, and then we're going to finish off with a 5-minute FLR hold, so forward leaning rest, and a little bit of plyometric lunging.
So Jane, these programs, if someone wants to get involved with this, we'll obviously talk about this more in the bulk of the podcast episode. They can obviously get in on this.
Totally. And I had somebody write to me today about it because they saw it on my Insta story. And I do remote coaching, but the way I do remote coaching is I won't just send somebody a program. I'll have a Skype call with them, because I will not let somebody move without me seeing their movement capability first.
Yeah. See what needs to improve.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Let's do it.
pulling back, go straight down and straight up. And hold your finish position. That's better. Okay. Good. Now stop 1 second. Okay, so jump up 1 second. So basically the first thing I teach is the mechanics of the machine. So originally this was designed to replicate Nordic skiing, but now what they've realised is this is a better conditioning tool than a replication of Nordic skiing. So mechanically, for the cables to travel in that direction, they have to then travel back and around. So it's kind of like when people do
I noticed that with your videos you post that your technique has changed.
Totally, yeah, and it's changed heaps because I started to research how the machine works better, and the machine works better if these go in a perfectly straight line, just like the rowing machine. So originally that was taught the scoop to replicate being in a boat, but now the way the chain works is it wants to go in a straight line. So
it's a recall straight back.
And this is exactly the same. And this is the mistake that everybody makes, is they do it like they're skiing. It's an inefficient part of the movement that will blow up lats and triceps coming back there and waste time coming back up.
Yes, I always, with that scoop, I was always trying to lengthen the cable out.
Yeah, but it doesn't help. It's just like on the rowing machine.
When you people could go like this or something, but it's not gonna...
It's not a constructive use of energy. So basically what you'd be better off doing, because it's all about you applying force down, and your arms are basically irrelevant. They're supposed to get really light. So if you're holding any of the tension on the handles, whether it's there or it's there, like to finish it off, what you're doing is just creating fatigue. So basically what you want to do is you want to push right down and these to finish there, because if they end up there, like at the end of the cable anyway, it's the same as if they're, so then they've only got to go straight line
I'm hitting the bottom of the
exactly, and you want to stop just before the bottom. But yeah, so length of, like what I used to teach on the roll was you basically want to get your handle as far that end to as far that end, and then I realised no, actually you kind of don't, like as in that's the wrong directive to give, and it's the same with this. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about when you're doing a ball slam, if your hands were to finish there, you wouldn't catch the ball and bring it back up again. So it wouldn't be a cyclical movement. So with a ball slam, in catching it, it makes it a rounded movement, a cyclical movement. And that's where that is like this, because the fan is cyclical, it's in a circle. So you have to stop at the bottom and come back up. Whereas when you go there, you're creating a gap in the movement. Okay, so you want to have a go at the 100? Or just ski, and let's see what you do. As you can see, all I talk about these days is skiing. Good. Good. Push. Keep skiing. Good. Stop for a second. Good. Okay, so now what I want you to do is I want you to do exactly what you're doing, but take out the jump, okay? So when you get up onto your toes, rather than leaving the floor and then landing, which is going to take more energy to jump and not help you because of your height, you don't actually need to jump. You're jumping because the landing creates more force down with gravity. I want you to create the force down with your heels, as if you were doing a deadlift or any kind of like clean position. If at the bottom, when you're creating as much force as you possibly could, you were to jump, you're going to change the movement completely. So what I want you to do here is I want you to get up as tall as you can and then bang down on your feet. If you look at my position here, what do I look like I'm actually about to do?
Deadlift.
Yep, or clean. Yep. So you're in that position at the bottom, and which is super familiar to you. So the way that I teach people who are familiar with Olympic lifting with skiing is the sequence is exactly the same. It's like apply force down through your feet, open up through your hips, and then finish it off with your arms. And the mistake people make with this is they put too much focus on their arms. And if you were to do a snatch and you were to pull with your arms first, you're not going to get it anywhere. Yeah, exactly. So that's what I want you to do. All right, you're going to have another go. It's fun. How does this always happen? I stop exercising and start coaching. Up on your toes, heels. There you go. There you go. There you go. Good. Stay balanced. Sit back into it. Weigh yourself down. Think heavy. Think heavy. Think heavy. Good. Rest. Okay. So now what I want you to do. So what you're in like a hybrid. Butterfly and a hybrid traditional. I want you to go traditional, like which is straight down, straight up, and I want you to release your arms faster, because what's happening is you're down, your drive is really, really strong, and then you're coming up and almost letting your arms come up last. So you're going down and then you're almost scooping. And then you're having like a second kind of wind at the top. Yeah, exactly. Like people do it on the rower when they kind of scoop at that last minute because their arms aren't straight. I want you to go down, and as you come up, everything comes up. Everything down, everything up. So it's once rather than a kind of double bounce at the top. Okay. Get up. And push down through your feet. Catch the tension with your feet. And rest. Okay, and at the top, you're holding your arms so tight like that, okay? So you're already in a tense state. I want you to get to the top. So I want you to get to the top, and I'm going to get you in the position first so you can feel what it looks like. You're the right height to be at the top with hips fully extended and arms like that, okay? So show me your finish, yeah. Okay, so that's actually your finish every time, not like that. Yeah, exactly, because it's the same thing with the cables. It's like, and tall people are almost disadvantaged with this because they can reach higher, but once they start to realize that their power is in making themselves tall through here, their arms can be in a really strong position here. Your arms here, you're in a stronger body position than in that position. Yeah, so utilizing that. This is great. You're a superstar. I'm going to make you a Project C athlete.
Oh, man.
You get to do the program.
Oh, awesome.
Right. There. There. Good. Good. That's better. Push down through your heels. Good. And rest. That was so much better. Did that feel easier?
Stronger.
Yeah. Like it should actually, there's a moment where you kind of go, oh, that feels much easier than before. Like it's less fatiguing. And so the mistake people make is like, they think they've got to make themselves really tall, but make yourself tall like in a kettlebell swing, and that's where the kettlebell swing applies with this. It's like you're in the complete kettlebell swing position at the top.
Yeah.
You're going to go ahead.
Yeah.
That's heavy. Okay. So you're still training with Lester?
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
Every Monday.
That's the best. Okay. Woo. Today's program actually favours you beautifully. Good. Have you put on muscle?
Bit. A couple of hours. Rep hopefully. Unless it counts.
Yeah, totally. I don't have many to do.
How many?
As many as you can in 7 minutes. That's easy. When I was at the CrossFit gym in Minnesota, the guy taught me how to actually kip.
Yeah.
You know, I've never known how to kip before. Yeah.
Top.
So pause at the bottom. 3, 2, 1. Explode. Catch. Reset. Start again at the bottom.
We stay the course weekly.
Good. And you don't have to drop into the squat. So, good. Yeah, like that. So catch it.
Yes, well,
Yeah. Good. Yeah, like safely, but like good. Your squat. I love that you just like. Jake went and saw Pep last week. Actually changed his life.
Really?
It's like,
There we go.
thank you.
Thanks, Alex.
This is fun.
See you, Helen.
That's a really good exercise. Yeah, good. And don't necessarily get lower to the ground there, but tilt forward, body weight forward, like as if you're on a skateboard. And now try and suck your belly button into your spine and squeeze your butt. I know your butt has a little bit of a perky spot. There, that was better. Good. And lock out your elbows. Yeah, there you go. Great. Should have gotten Darren to do these.
Yeah.
I feel like he loves these.
With the quaddies.
Yeah. Yeah, good work. I like your shoes too.
And you.
Yeah, they're so nice.
I could go with a Nike sponsorship.
Yes! Perfect. Woo!
Done.
It's a workout.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching that workout with Jane and myself. Now we're moving on to the podcast interview. If you don't want to watch the whole interview here, you can download the podcast episode. Just jump on your favorite podcast app, search Your Revolution and you'll get it. Or you can jump on our website. There's links to Stitcher and iTunes where you can find it on the iTunes podcast store there. Even sign up. Every time we release an episode, we'll send you an email. Hope to catch you soon. Next episode's going to be with Nathan Tiapo from Momentum Performance.
All right, we are here for episode 1 of the Revolution, or the Your Revolution podcast with me, Luke Scott. But episode, I think we figured out about 95 all up.
Be nice if it was 100 right now.
I know, it would be, wouldn't it?
But it will be soon.
It will be. We'll get there. So I think I need to start this episode by saying I am really excited to be here.
You have to mean it.
I know.
I've
got to be a bit more exuberant.
Excited, because I'm so excited.
We've got a bit of video going, so if you're listening to this on audio, this will be on YouTube. As soon as we can get the edit up, hopefully I'll coincide the video and audio will happen together. And that's going to be a thing that'll happen moving forward with every episode. Jane and I have just done a session together, get some insights into the way that Jane trains and what she's about as a coach. Just quickly, it's Luke. Hopefully you listened to the last episode and heard about who I am, what I'm doing here, why you're hearing from me. And today we're interviewing Jane, who has been your host for the last, as we said, 94 episodes. Hopefully this will give you an opportunity to learn a little bit more about her, where she's headed as a coach, a professional, a speaker. So her name is Jane Erbacher.
Yes.
I think I called you Erbacher in the last bit of filming.
People call me Earbasher occasionally.
That's what I've actually got written down, Jane Erbacher.
It's very appropriate.
Absolutely. So just quickly, you are a podcaster, a coach, a speaker, a writer, a mindset coach, a former world record holder, a student, a traveller, a shopper, a coffee drinker, a dreamer, and a doer. Anything I missed out?
Perfect. Eater? Did you have eater?
Oh, I didn't know how to put that in there nice.
Oh, yeah, you didn't want to be like fatty.
A foodie. Yeah.
That was pretty good though.
Now, also, one thing I've never asked you, what nationality and how do you pronounce your surname?
Oh, great question. I don't think I've ever been asked that before. It's actually German.
Right.
But I am going to describe myself as old school convict. I'm pretty sure we came out here very long ago. Yeah, I've got a good combination of English, Irish, and German in me. But both my mum and dad are here from here, Australia. So yeah, I think our really good friend Till, who is German, pronounces my name beautifully, and he says Erbacher. And I'm just
he says it properly.
Yeah, totally. And I'm like Erbacher.
Yeah. So as you all know, she is the former host of this podcast, the Your Revolution podcast, and the current or soon to be, she's done a pilot episode of the Peanut Butter podcast. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your former listeners, a little bit about what your podcast and is going to be about?
Totally. I feel a bit like Prince right now when it's like the artist formerly known as Prince.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is cool. I'm like, I feel like I've just been elevated there.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what was the question?
What is it about?
Peanut Butter
happening?
podcast.
Yeah,
okay, so it's pretty cool. So I love peanut butter. And Jake actually came up with that name. He thought that it'd be...
I had never had peanut butter with banana on toast until you told me about that.
Yeah.
And that's what I had this morning. So that's
How good is it?
It's really good.
So it's evolved. It's now peanut butter with banana and cinnamon. And that is really good. I actually have it on pancakes now. So I call them protein pancakes for breakfast, but I don't have any supplements. I don't have any protein powder, but I have eggs, egg whites, banana, cinnamon, peanut butter, obviously. Anyway, so peanut butter is obviously got a big place in my heart. Yeah. But pretty much something that really struck a chord was a conversation we had about 6 months ago about the podcast. And we talked about one time, and it was just after Donald Trump had been elected. And we discussed whether or not the Your Revolution podcast takes a political stance.
Yeah.
And you said to me basically, I don't think it should. And I was like, and that really struck a chord with me because I thought I've done an arts degree where I majored in sociology, and I was a tutor in sociology on a subject that was about social control. And so we talked a lot about I was teaching students to think critically and to take a stand about things. And so that's very much my background. I've also done a degree in health sciences, which I majored in public health, which was about one of the main things I worked on was inequalities in health and access to health. So another big focus on inequality. And then now I'm just at the tail end of a law degree, and you'd probably say I'm quite adversarial. I've really been taught in my law degree to problem solve in a way that creates an outcome. So one of the things you learn in an arts degree is to think critically and highlight all the problems. One of the things you learn in a law degree is to figure out how to solve those problems. And so it was that conversation that made me think I really want a podcast that is a platform for my political beliefs as well as my personal and professional ones. And so that was the moment that I kind of went, okay, I completely agree with you. I don't want this to be the platform for that, because that's not what this podcast is about. The Your Evolution podcast is about people creating a better life for themselves and learning from others, and from a fitness realm and a nutrition realm and a betterment realm, rather than a politics realm.
Yeah.
And
regardless of which end of that spectrum they sit
completely. And because it doesn't matter on this podcast, and it's important. And as Jane Erbacher, I was infiltrating it, and it was important for me to realize that wasn't the platform for it.
For sure.
So it started as a little, dot in my head, and then, in the last couple of months, I started to realize that was the direction that I had to go, because I couldn't stop myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've spoken about previously that this podcast will be released in binge episodes, blocks, lots. First one will be out when? Monday. So this episode we're recording on a Friday here at the studio. Probably be sometime next week as well. So hopefully you have either gotten your dose of Jane's podcast prior, or around about the same time they should be coming out. So this episode will be in a couple of weeks, I think. So you'll be all Janed out by the end of January, hopefully, and get your fill and be able to binge as these episodes are coming out in blocks.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And I've decided to do it in that format because that's how I watch TV shows, and a lot of us do these days without access to Netflix. It's like, I'll pick a TV show, Friday Night Lights right now, and that's what I'll watch for. It usually takes me about 6 months to get through a box set, but it's like, that's what I want to watch. I want to be engaged in the same thing. And I thought that in terms of podcasting, the only real podcast out there that's taken that format is Serial, and it's the most downloaded podcast of all
You mentioned
time.
this the other day, and I've just gotten hooked on it. Every time I get a spare, I'd never heard of it until you mentioned it, I think in last week's podcast, in your pilot, your pilot episode for the Peanut Butter Podcast. And now when I walked up and got my lunch before, I'm up to episode 5, and
I know. It's so addictive, and I am completely under no illusion that my content is as engaging. It will be really fun and interesting, but that is next level. Serial is so good. But do you know the amount of people that have told me in the last week that they've been listening to Serial? I'm like, man, I should be getting a kickback for this. I'm like promoting this.
Well, hopefully someone can do this. Well, hopefully maybe the Your Evolution podcast can drive traffic to the same way.
And vice versa.
We really want people to be continuing to get their fill of all that this podcast has become, because you put so much work into this over the last 2 years. It was a no-brainer that it had to continue, regardless of this new direction that you're taking with your own podcast. Hopefully people are going to get a whole heap out of this. As we mentioned in the last episode, I want to be as contactable as possible for all of the listeners. I want to take their feedback and direction and desire on the direction that we want to take this. As we mentioned in the last episode about this is being fitness-based. This is about growing this podcast to be something that's going to be all about motivation, talking to people within the industry, talking about stories and insights and how fitness has made people's lives better, and how maybe people who are just getting started with their own fitness journey can take those other stories of inspiration to further spur them on to do new things, and also just to see all of the diversities that lie within that banner of fitness, whether it is strongman or weightlifting or body sculpting or fitness modeling or powerlifting or whatever it might be. Talking about stories within that, talking about how people have gotten to that pointy end of performance, and just how people have gotten started and what them starting their own fitness journey is meaning to them. So
totally, and even come into Revo. I'm a huge advocate of Revo, and it's like I talk all the time, and people are probably sick of it, but it's like I do go into lots of gyms, and I always come back to Revo.
For sure.
And it's like, and there's a reason for it. So that's what it's here for.
And if you're from wherever it is around the world, reach out. We are offering online programming now, even if it's just to reach out and say, hey, if it's to reach out to try and find out what we do in here. That's a big part about this year, is to become more worldwide in terms of our access to what we do on a day-by-day, session-by-session basis, what we believe in terms of our programming and stuff like that. But this is all about you, so let's push forward. We'll probably jump ahead a little bit, but what got you involved in the fitness industry as a start? Why this? You mentioned briefly about your law degree, your sociology degree. There's so many different areas that you could have headed in with your own career. And I think that you've probably dabbled in along the journey, but this seems to be where you keep coming back to, even with where your business is going in terms of with workshops and mindset coaching and that sort of stuff. There's still, I guess, the axis of it still starts with fitness.
Definitely.
Why that?
Great question. That is such a good question, and I'm going to try my best not to take forever to answer it. I was always really, really sporty. I couldn't get enough of every single sport that I played. I played basketball, netball, tennis. I was a ball kid at the tennis, the Australian Open. Super topical right now because it's happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I loved that.
Starts Monday. Does it start Monday?
Yeah. So it's the qualifying right now, and starts on Monday. I love the tennis. I love every sport, and I'm not a sports spectator though. I would be a terrible athlete's girlfriend because I just want to get involved and play. And so I grew up. Yeah, hence being ball kid, exactly. Yeah. And so I finished school, and I was super disappointed because I actually missed out on getting straight into law straight out of school, and I was like, boo-hoo. I said to my dad, I'm going to defer uni. He was like, oh no, I know what Jane means when she says this is going to take her forever to get back on the boat. And it did. It took me 4 years of being deferred, but in that 4 years what I actually did was I turned something I loved, which was fitness, into a job. And I used to love going to the gym and doing aerobics. So the very first job I had after doing my Cert 3 was to become an aerobics instructor. So my favourite thing to tell people when I tell them my name is Jane is I say I was named after Jane Fonda. And then they look at me and they go, really? And I go, no.
I was about to.
Yeah, I know, really? No. I was actually named after Jane Austen. So my mum was a big reader. And so that's that. But so I spent 4 years working as a personal trainer, body attack instructor, body pump instructor, gym instructor, and living and breathing fitness myself. And that was a real non-negotiable in my life, that fitness really stuck. And in that period I went from being kind of a skinny teenager to becoming a little bit more chubby and not knowing why. So what I started to do in that 4 years was over-exercise like an absolute maniac, and I'd be teaching 30 aerobics classes a week, running 10Ks a day, had a terrible relationship with binge eating and restricting and all these different things. I was going to say stupid things, but not really. All these things I was just trying to figure out how things were going.
Learning as a new adult.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think that what that really did for me was it fused my passion for fitness and my belief in how much fitness can change somebody's life with an empathy for somebody who couldn't figure out how to keep their body in check and look after themselves. And so that's kind of where I've definitely kept diverting back to, and I guess that's where everything has come from now, because I really do fuse mindset, nutrition and training, because for me any of those in isolation doesn't work. I have to have them all working concurrently.
So coming back to that, if you, Jane now, would go back to Jane then, Jane, 21-year-old Jane, and give Jane all of that information so that as a 21-year-old you became overnight who you are today, do you think that would work, or do you think you needed to fail, try, learn, hit brick walls to become that person?
What another great question. I should be writing these down and stealing them. They're really good questions. Yeah. So the funny thing is I'm now going to speak about myself in the third person. Jane 21 wouldn't have listened.
Yep.
Like, it didn't matter who came and slapped her on the face and told her she was defiant. And she was going to do things the wrong way before doing things the right way. And it's funny because at 21 years old, after I'd deferred for 4 years, I was so furious with myself because I looked back on those 4 years as a waste, and because I didn't feel like I progressed anywhere. But now I look back on those 4 years and I'm like, that's where I figured so much out, because I did it all wrong so many times. And so I'm super cautious now with how I coach people, because sometimes people have to make the mistake to learn from it. And so preventing somebody making a mistake, or a popular term these days is as a helicopter parent, and clearing all the mistakes out of your child's way actually doesn't enable them to learn and grow. And as frustrating as it might have been for my family to watch me doing things like that, and in a sense banging my head against the wall, now Jane is 33, is loving it all so much, and it's all led to it.
As you say, with the whole helicopter parent scenario, you've got to empower and I can say this probably as a parent, you've got to empower your children to fall over and get back up. And I guess the same even when they get into adulthood. My children definitely aren't that age yet, but I'd like to think that as much as I want to guide them in the right direction, you've got to let people make those mistakes
Totally.
and learn from them, don't they? I think, and that probably comes back to coaching as well. Should you go and clear out a client's pantry and tell them exactly what to eat, or should you teach them why they should be making those right choices?
Exactly.
And that's something entirely different.
Yep.
One of the big successes of this podcast, probably how 99% of the people have found out about it, is social media. It's an area that I'm guessing you spend an incredible amount of time on engaging with your audience. How valuable is social media to you? And I guess we'll start there. And then you mentioned to me briefly as we're doing our workout, what are the pitfalls of social media for you, and how have you managed them?
Really good question. So this time last year I had 1,200 followers and we had a conversation about it, and you were helping me with it. And I was like, I really couldn't figure it out, because I came from the idea that just put out good content and, you know, if they build it, they will come. That's that Kevin Costner movie. I'm pretty sure if they build it, if we build it, they will come. Yeah, I can't remember what it's called. I loved it though. I love those sporting movies. And
that's the Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams, that's it. Good work. We should have left it hanging and people would have had to write to us. Yeah. So that's kind of how I felt. I was like, if I just produce really great content and if I blah, blah, blah. And then I sat there one day and I was like, you know that guy that walks in the door somewhere, you're at a party and he's all like, look at me, I'm talking about me. Nobody wants to be friends with that guy. And I was like, yeah, that is how we all approach social media.
Sure.
So we're all like, here's my post, here's my selfie, me, and everybody validate me. Yeah. And I was like, I was so uncomfortable with that, because that's how I saw Instagram. And then I was like, but that's not how I am in real life. So I'm going to now allow Instagram to reflect how I am in real life. And how I am in real life is engaging with other people, having a conversation, building a real relationship. Yeah. And so that's how I've used Instagram, and it has been amazing business-wise, because it's been, and I know that Tim Ferriss said you only need 1,000 true followers. Yeah. And you can either take that as you need 1,000 followers on Instagram, or you need 1,000 true followers. And so for me, the number doesn't matter. Like, I'm over 9,000 now. That doesn't matter, because what I get every single day is people, real people, writing to me and telling me that what's been happening has changed their life. And I do the same to other people. Yeah. And there's people that I've never met before that I write to and that write to me, and we've become friends. And the amount of workshops I've run, and the amount of people I've coached now, and the amount of people that listen to the podcast because of Instagram has blown me away. Yeah. In terms of pitfalls, I've never been bullied on Instagram. Yeah.
And it's only one, obviously this is only one channel. Yeah. The same could apply to whether or not you're using Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever's going to come as Snapchat. Yeah. What are the kids using these days, hey?
I know. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. But yeah, like, and that's great that you haven't encountered any pitfalls, but I'm sure like these successes are, regardless of the platform, they're going to be relevant.
100%. And it's the whole thing about creating a relationship, and we talked about it in the last podcast about sales, and I used to be afraid of sales because in my head I associated sales with asking somebody for money. And for me now, sales is about creating a relationship in real life, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, email, whatever it is. It's genuinely finding out what it is the person needs and seeing if what I do can satisfy that need.
And being genuine.
Completely.
Yeah. Sure. And so I'm sure that's going to continue with the Peanut Butter podcast, so keep an eye out and talk to Jane, because she'll respond, and that's probably one of the biggest things, interacting with your audience, I'm sure you'd say.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I guess if you've got, and you haven't encountered this, you said you've got a few sleazy creeps, but maybe not haters. And I guess if you do ever develop to have haters online, it's probably better than having no one listening.
Totally.
So to have an opinion either way is pretty important, I think.
Definitely agree.
As you said, with the direction of your new podcast, not having an opinion depending on the realm, like, but just not being clear of where you sit, I guess, is probably something that you're really about, I guess.
Yeah.
I was having a chat with Jamie this afternoon. Everyone who knows Jamie who works here, Jamie Lee Brown,
I love
amazing
her so
lady.
Much. Yeah.
Look her up on Instagram.
Many nominations for Australia's Best Trainer, by the way.
There you go.
Many.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm looking
She'll
forward
be
to
on
seeing
my
that
website.
list.
I know. We're building a page on my website.
Yeah.
I got way too many nominations. I couldn't cope with it. Like,
it's going to take time to filter through.
Seriously, I had like so many testimonials.
And you mentioned that potentially that was going to go global. Is that still happening?
Yeah. Well, the guys from Varsity House, Joe and Dan, were like, "Hey, what about America?
Yeah, what
and
about
then
us?
someone else was like, what about Canada? And at that exact moment, like I had testimonial after testimonial coming into my email, and I was like, what have I done?
Just shove
It's like, I can't deal with this.
You need to outsource that.
Yeah, I totally
Listen,
do.
Jake, the assistant.
Yes.
Jake, are you listening?
And I'm single.
You're going through email after email.
Yes.
So keep your eye out for that, I guess, and maybe send some nominations through.
Yes.
Don't wait for
No,
her to,
the biggest
she's
thing.
too busy to do this post. Just get them through.
Just send them through.
Yeah, send them
I'm
through.
still accepting them.
That was part of this question. Jamie wants to know, how do you manage all of these different projects?
Yeah.
All your different commitments. How are you fitting them in? And how do you know where to put your energy? And we'll come back to the energy, but how do you manage it?
Great question. So it's one of my biggest problems my entire life is wanting to do everything. And I still remember it in primary school. My mum was like, she was driving me from after school sport, we played like rounders to a netball game to a basketball game, and she was like, Jane, you can't keep saying yes to everything. And I was 10, and I still remember that conversation, and I was like, I know, Mum, I'm sorry, I just love it all. And it's so funny, as a 33-year-old, I'm like, oh God. But I think that the way that I manage it all right now is everything rests on the exact same message and intention. And my absolute core message and intention is to connect with people to bring out their best. Like, figure out a way that you can make somebody's day better, somebody's life better. And so whatever tool I use in the interaction, whether it's a ski erg, whether it's a rower, whether it's a
Instagram,
podcast, whether it's Instagram, whatever it is, make somebody's day better, make somebody's moment better. And that's whatever I do then follows on from that. So it never matters. Like you saw me just before in that training session, I get really excited about the ski erg. And if you'd chosen to do something different with me, I'd probably get really excited about that too, because I love life, but I'm either in it or I'm not in it. And I think that one of the things I have had to do in the last month, hence why I'm not I'm not hosting the Your Revolution podcast anymore, is I had to really streamline the activities I was doing, the projects I was running, to all come under the Jane Erbacher banner.
Yep.
Or as Jake calls it, Planet Jane.
JaneErbacher.com.
Yes, it is, yeah.
So what happens I'm assuming this happens, as much as you're a very positive, energetic person, what happens on the bad days?
Oh my God. So yesterday...
What happens when you have to run a workshop on a bad day?
Yeah, totally. Okay, so I'll talk about that first. So last time I ran the reset, that morning, Jake was supposed to come, and I just was so nervous about running it. And I think that's something that people don't realize is both of us are very people person.
Yeah.
People. You know what I'm trying to say? We're personable, and they think that if you're good at public speaking or good at being up in front of everybody, you're like that all the time.
For sure.
And it doesn't happen. Like, any time I present anything, I have a slight meltdown before I do it. And it's like, I'll run a workshop, and that morning I'll be like, oh my God, am I all over it? And I'll run through exactly what I'm doing every single time I do it. And before the reset I did last time, I was like, had an actual meltdown. I was like, can't do it. All these people are putting so much faith in me. Like, people have signed up, especially the reset. Yeah, they really are, and they're like, I want my life to be better, and I know that you can help me do it. And it's like, that's a huge responsibility to have, especially to a group of people. And Project Row and Project Ski are somewhat easier, because it's not like somebody looks at the rower and goes, this is my way in life. It's like, I definitely believe it will make your life better, but it's not what they're resting on.
It's not the whole shebang.
Totally. Whereas the reset, I look at it like it is a mindset overhaul. It's teaching people to turn negative self-talk into positive self-talk. It's teaching people, like, I've got mums coming this Sunday who have new babies, and they want to be the best mum they could be. And I'm like, I'm not a mum. So it's like, is everything I know and everything I've experienced and everything I've applied and everything I've seen succeed in other people I've helped, is that enough to help these people? Because that's a huge responsibility. So what I have to do when that happens is I just have to throw myself in. So it's like, show up on those bad days. Like, I never, with something like that, I have to go, obviously. And it's so funny, because within moments of doing it, I realized that's exactly the place I'm supposed to be. But like yesterday, I had a terrible day. I was overwhelmed with how many things I had on. And the hilarious part was, it was because I got about 3 emails yesterday morning from people who had watched my Insta stories the day before, where I was doing remote coaching, which I'd put on Insta stories, and they wanted me to do it with them. And I was like, oh my God, how can I take something else on? And then I'm like, well, you can, because this is exactly what you do already.
Yeah.
So, and it just kind of overwhelmed me. And so what I have to do is every single day, absolute non-negotiable is I go for a run, no music, no anything, and it's kind of a moving meditation for me. I look at it less like a workout these days and more like a moving meditation, and that always brings me back to what I'm actually doing.
Yeah. And that's, I guess, mindset. People would ask you, do you meditate every day? Meditation is what it's individual to the person, isn't it? It may be running, it might be doing a hard workout for other people, it might be going for a walk, whatever it might be, but just take that time out, I guess.
Totally.
And
message. People have gotten really bogged down in the specifics of meditation because it's definitely become something super trendy to people. And I think that what is important is, rather than define it as meditation, just take yourself away from the having everything here in your face to being able to see it wholly, and remove yourself, because that's the thing, we're always in our life, we're never on our life. And it's I guess that's the value of meditation, is trying to be on your life so you're not immersed in it all the time. And it can take different forms. Something I love about weightlifting, and I learnt this from Lester, your friend and coach, is you can't do a clean or a snatch without being mindful. You can't sit there and chat to somebody about, whatever, while you're doing a snatch. You have to be in it. And it's and so that is such a great training tool to use, because it's about your training, it's about lifting, it's about the sequence, which can then mean that you get in the car after a workout and you're clear. Mm-hmm. You know exactly how to approach your life because you haven't been bogged down in it for the hour previously.
For sure. Moving forward from there, how have you gone now working solely self-dedicated? I know even before you worked here at Revolution, you were a member of a gym in a team environment. How have you gone making that transition on a day-to-day basis to it being, as you say, Planet Jane on the Jane Erbacher show? How have you coped with that, all the pressure and I guess driving the boat?
It's been a pretty interesting experience, because in high school I still remember when they gave us independent learning classes, and I was a terrible independent learner. It turned out I was the person in the room that decided independent learning meant we all got to hang out and chat. I know, can you believe it? And it's so I went from that person who had to be given a checklist, Jane, this is your work you must do in this amount of time, to now being the ultimate independent learner, where if I don't do work, it doesn't get done. And it's something that I've really started to learn with that, is it's the more I work, the better I do, the more impact I can have, the more people I can reach. And so I have a routine now. I get out of bed at 7 o'clock every morning. I get up, I usually take the dogs out. I'm going to say to the bathroom. Yeah, I know all the dogs. I live in a zoo. And and then I sit down and I do morning, I have a morning routine that I do, which is a little bit of gratitude, a little bit of what will I succeed in today, a little bit of what is something I'm proud of, what's something I love about myself. And it just orients me. It takes 5 minutes. It orients me to start the day with a clean slate, and I start work. And I sit at my table in my kitchen, which is the only furniture we have in the kitchen. We were talking about how I don't have a couch. I would love a couch. I don't have one, because if I have a couch, I'll probably lay on it and eat chocolate. That's how I associate couches. Anyway, and so I start work straight away. I'm in my pajamas. I usually work for 3 hours, and then I go for a run, and then I come home and I work some more. And those are the days where I get the most incredible amount of work done. And I guess that the days that I have interruptions, I have consults or I have meetings, being interrupted, it is so hard to then return back to that space. And I think that that's one of the things I relish in so much, is I'm in charge of my timetable and my schedule, and I can choose the days that I have consults, and I don't have other people in an office or in a team environment that are interrupting me. Mm-hmm. And I see that as a huge asset.
Absolutely. And so what's making part of Planet Jane at the moment?
I love that you're calling it that.
I'm rolling with it.
Yes.
So the podcast, the Peanut Butter Podcast, we've touched on Project Row, Project X, Project Ski, the Reset, your online coaching, remote programming, your mindset coaching.
Yep.
What have I missed, and what is you mentioned it's all under the same banner of betterment.
Yep.
And where to next?
Great question. Okay, so I do not refer to what I do as Planet Jane. I think it must be clear at that.
I'll take it back.
Jake, my boyfriend, who helps me an incredible amount, he's a business consultant and he creates business systems. And when we met a year ago, he's like, "What systems do you have in your business?" And I was like, "What's a system?"
Gmail? Is it
I was like, I don't like systems. I just decided I'm a creative. I don't like systems. Anyway, he has set up so many systems in my business that I am now a system addict, and I can't believe how great they are. He's amazing at what he does, and he's very, very helpful to me. But so basically he laughed and called it Planet Jane, and now he's actually like, no, I think we should call it Planet Jane. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I would be really embarrassed if I called anything Planet Jane.
Hi, it's Jane from Planet Jane.
I know. Hi, everybody. I know. I'm like, everyone would be like, narcissist? No. Okay. So basically what takes up my time and what I'm doing is I do Project Row and Project Ski, which is skiing and rowing seminars and workshops. And it's so funny. They came out of kind of nowhere. In a way, I've always loved rowing, the rowing machine. I hated skiing and was terrible at it, as you will attest to. And now I absolutely love it. I had a brief world record. I'm going to say it was maybe 48 hours before somebody
more hours than I've had as a world record.
I know, yeah, you were so encouraging of me, and I was like, after 45 minutes when I could breathe and talking, and I was like, I think I could have done better.
At least it wasn't like a world record in the amount of eggs you can balance on your nose while like on a unicycle or something.
Yes,
but that's
totally.
Maybe impressive.
Maybe I should try and do that next. But yeah, so Project Row and Project Ski, I run what I call the life hack, and that's a one-on-one coaching program, and I called it the life hack because basically we hack at your life and make it better. I also love a whole life hack. I remember one I read about once was how to get an In-N-Out burger when you've got a stopover at LA airport, and it's at LAX, and basically you get on like a parking lot bus, and I was like, ooh, I love life hacks, these are great, and so created the life hack. Then I do the reset, which is more group, it's a reset, so it's a mindset, nutrition and training reset. And
one running this Sunday. Next running when?
No, I haven't set another date. Okay. So I basically want to run them twice yearly. I don't want to do them too often because I think that it's important that people realize that like they don't need to reset all the time, and if you're resetting all the time, then your normal isn't how it should look.
Setting in.
Yeah.
So maybe 6 months from when this.
Exactly. So yeah, probably a winter and a summer one.
Yeah.
And then
get in touch with Jane if you're wanting to do the next one.
Yeah, it's really good. I love it. And then I do a little bit of online and remote coaching, and I think that's it. I think that's what I do these days.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Jim Jones was a big part of last year for you.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what that is.
Yeah, so basically when I started training here at Revo, it was about 2013 or 2014, and I had just started training Hamish Blake. And in the same week...
Who's featured on this podcast.
Yes.
Go back and listen to it if you...
Yeah, and he's a really good friend of mine, and I used to coach him and train him. And he one day was like, Janie, I've got to show you these guys. You're going to absolutely love them. And he showed me the Instagram of Jim Jones, and I started reading it, and I was like, these guys are cool. Like, I was like, oh my God, there's people out there that understand that it's mindset and training and it's intertwined. And I was always like sitting in this kind of camp and hadn't met people that thought the same thing. And in about the same week I came in here and I looked at some of like what you were doing and your messaging, and I was like, wow, that's, you know, like similar to the kind of thinking I'm starting to understand. And you actually gave me the Jones crawl workout. And I was like, that's so cool. And so I started talking to you about it, and you were exposed to their idea as well. And so I was like, wow. And I always think that nothing is really a coincidence. Things like pop up and you either are conscious of it or not conscious of it at the time. And so from that moment I kind of became like a bit of a follower, thought they were really interesting. And then 2014, when things weren't going the way that I wanted to in my business, I jumped on a plane and went to Salt Lake City and did my level 1, and then went back and did my level 2, and it's been an absolute. And then last year I did my level 3 and became fully certified, and it was a huge part of my development as individually and also as a coach, because what it did for me was it exposed me to people who I thought were great and people who were really crushing it, whether it was training or coaching or business, and it made me see what the world was. And I have made so many friends, and I'm not a part of Jim Jones anymore, and it's not because I don't believe in what they do, it's just because I didn't have space in the direction I was going. But I can't get over the people that are still really good friends and mentors from that.
One thing I guess that is amazing to me, and hopefully it's a skill that I can develop myself, that you're obviously very, very successful at, is reaching out to people. And maybe that experience has put you has put you in good stead for that, because
Definitely.
even someone like Hamish, I know the story on the podcast of how you started to train him.
Yeah.
He's amazing, and it probably takes, and it's not a hard thing to do, I guess, but a lot of people are really fearful of getting out of their comfort zone, as we spoke about in the last episode. Something that I'm going to hopefully battle with myself, and I'm sure everybody out there could learn something from you in that regard, because you're probably one of the best people in the world at that. Approaching people, not being afraid to ask the question, and doing that. And I guess maybe this is an opportunity for people to do the same with you. There's probably 9,000 people out there that would love to ask you a specific question. So
it's really cool, because it's something that I've definitely gotten really good at, because now I'm really like, well, the worst they can do is actually say no.
For sure.
And it's not the end of the world. And I've only had one person that was actually rude to me about it, and I was like, oh, well, they're obviously a loser. Like, as in, I wasn't like, oh, my feelings are hurt. But recently I was in America, and the whole trip came about in the blink of an actual eye. Like, I came back from Europe, and I was in negotiation with Dark Horse Rowing on collaborating in
Shane,
a project.
episode with him recently as well.
He's such a great guy. I love him. And that's a cool story, completely separate. But him and I were basically planning on January. I was going to go over to LA, and we were going to film our coaches course that we've developed, which was a collaboration between Project Ski.
That wasn't even on that list of things.
I know. I forgot about that. It's a coaches course coming out in April. It's going to be great. It's online, so you don't have to leave the comfort of your home. Him and I were planning on doing that in January. And so then, while I was in Europe, I get home from Europe, and it was 2 days after I landed back in Europe, and I was going to Nick and Justine's wedding in Dalesford, and I opened up my Facebook, and there was a message from somebody who I'd never met before, and it was like, hi Jane, we haven't met. My name's Andrew. I'm one of the coaches at the Alpine Training Center in Boulder, Colorado, and we're running a big ski erg fundraiser. I'd love you to be on my team. And I was like, I remember going, that's crazy even for me. Like, as in, I'm like, I will pretty much get on a plane and fly to Brisbane to speak to somebody for the podcast who was on Survivor, who was great, by the way. But I will do things like that. Yeah, I'll actually do things like that. And then I was like, so I remember I was chatting with Jake as we were driving to Dalesford for the wedding, and Jake was like, oh, that's so nice he did that. Like, what a cool guy. Anyway, and then I wrote back, and I'm like, thank you so much, And then he goes, well, to sweeten the deal a little bit, I've got points, I can, pay. And I was like, he's really persisting. Like, as in, I was like, what a really nice guy. And so got on the phone to Shane from Dark Horse, and I was like, how would you feel about us bringing that that filming we're doing in January forward to December, and because I really want to do this ski erg fundraiser, basically. And he's like, I want to do the ski erg fundraiser. Is there a place for me on the team? And I was like, so it just
someone got bumped.
Boom, yeah. And I went 10 days later, got on a plane. Him and I met up in Boulder, Colorado. We did this great fundraiser. We didn't win. We should have won. I felt like my business was like, I was like everybody on Project Ski. Like, I was like, but yeah, and then it ended up being probably the best business move I've ever made, to go over there. And it's as much about reaching out and throwing yourself out there with other people as it is throwing yourself out there for you. And we're all so reluctant to do that. Like, we think of all the things that could go wrong, and for me it was just like all the things that could go right.
For sure. And what's the worst that could happen, I guess?
Totally. And I'm in Boulder, Colorado. Like, it's going to be pretty good no matter what. There's 5 Whole Foods.
Mainland US next stop. So I guess I've asked you most of what I wanted to ask you. I've got a quick 20 questions coming up. This is going to be a new thing that I'm going to add to each episode. Anything that you wanted to add before I ask the traditional "What is your purpose?" question?
Oh God,
it's going to have to.
I know.
Carry
I'm like,
on.
oh God,
at least for this legacy episode.
Yeah, totally. It's got to carry on, because it puts people kind of on the spot a little bit, even though they know it's coming. They're like, So no, I think that I've said everything.
And if you've got any more to say, you've got a whole podcast to do.
Totally, I know.
So what is your purpose, Jane?
Okay, so it's a really good question, and one that I've asked many times. I'm not sure I've actually ever been asked it. I think that I've known ever since I was really little that my purpose, and it's super corny, but my mum used to tell me like every single day, and I remember it when I was little, that I was her little ray of sunshine. And I still remember, like, about 5 years ago, one of her friends goes to me, yeah, you were a big surprise to your mum. And I was like, was like, I think I was about 30, and I was like, oh, you mean I was not, like the world was not waiting for me? Like I was like a surprise, and I was like, oh God, like thanks. I'm like, is that a bad thing? I was like, maybe not a bad thing. But my mum used to tell me all the time that I was her ray of sunshine, and she used to say that. And so I guess I probably grew up with quite a lot of confidence, because it was really like I was really told I was, she was grateful for me for a very, very long time. And so I think I knew from when I was about 15 that I wanted to change the world, and I wanted the world to be something better than when I arrived. And it's a very typical youngest child attitude, but I wholeheartedly believe that, and I wholeheartedly believe that the energy that I have, I see it shift other people's energy, and it does take a little bit of effort some days, but it's never insincere. And so I've seen that the power that I have is to actually make people's days better. And if somebody can go off and have a better day, the butterfly effect of that can be that their partner has a better day, and then the person that they interact with in the supermarket. And you never know what somebody's story is. And I've talked about it a lot on the podcast, but my mum died when I was little, and my oldest brother died when I was a teenager. And I still remember my sister went to the gym the day that my brother died, and not because she was like, whatever. She was just like, I need some sort of an escape. And she went there, and she still remembers the class she did. It was a body pump class, and the instructor came up and, really pushed her, and Gabrielle was so grateful for it. And that story has stuck in my head, because I'm like, every time somebody walks in that door as a coach, you don't know what their day has been, and your responsibility is to make this experience good for them. Whether it's good as positive, or it's good as learning, or it's good as, pushing them, whatever it is, they've got to walk out of here better from it.
It's amazing the effect that you can have on other people, regardless of the profession you're in. People think that those that only save lives, I guess.
Yeah.
Like your doctors and your nurses and your firefighters and police people. But it's something so small like that could really have a profound effect on someone.
And it really
when
does.
They're at their most vulnerable.
Totally.
Whether or not you're the barista down the street.
Exactly.
Or something like that.
And you've got such a responsibility, like training, like if we look at mental health, like the improvement in somebody's mental health from fitness is like exponential.
Absolutely.
And so I absolutely see what an incredible responsibility you have. And we talked about this before the podcast about somebody being bullied on social media, and like the worst result from that possible. And it's like you hear things like this all the time, and you really don't know what's actually going on in people's lives. So if you can be a spark of something good for that
Positivity.
person,
I think people can definitely say that that's the case with you, and keep doing what you're doing. You're definitely on the journey to change the world, my friends.
Thank you. That's so nice.
So just quickly before we finish, I wanted to set this to 60 seconds. I'm going to give you the opportunity. Exactly. So we'll see how we go.
I reckon we should try.
We can do our best. We will see how this develops over the next few episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone's got any specific questions, the next episode is going to be Nathan Tiapo.
Right.
He's been worded up. Nathan Tiapo from Momentum Performance Training in Port Melbourne. Reach out to him on social media. Send me through your requests for questions if you have any. I'm really going to put him through the ringer, and he's going to do the same with me in the workout I'm going to do beforehand. So it's going to be payback. So one word answer.
Yeah.
20 questions. I've got 1 and 1B, but we'll see how we go.
Hyphenated.
One word. Potentially. Number 1, first question. Are you on the payroll at Concept 2?
No.
Do you want to be?
No.
Okay, good. Moving forward. At Lululemon?
No.
Okay. Peanut butter, question mark.
Am I on the payroll?
No, it's an open-ended question. Question 3 is just peanut butter question.
Podcast.
All right, good answer. Good answer. Chocolate.
Delicious.
Ben and Jerry's.
No.
New York or LA?
Both. I got one word.
Ooh.
Yes!
New York or Melbourne?
Both.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Beach or city?
City.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Rower or ski?
Ski.
Ski or assault bike?
Ski.
I didn't know the answer to a few of those. Deadlift or squat?
Deadlift. I bet you knew that one.
Pull up or push up?
Pull up.
Run or swim?
Run.
Drive or navigate?
That's the funniest question ever. Drive.
Neither.
Yeah, I'm like the worst navigator ever. I get distracted and then we miss the turn off.
Cook or clean?
Cook.
Audio or video?
Audio.
Indoors or outdoors?
Outdoors.
This is a geographical relevant question. North or south?
North.
North. That wraps up the first episode. So we are here in South Melbourne.
Yeah.
Jane is from the north side of the river. It's a big thing here in Melbourne.
It is.
I'm South Side at the moment. I'm a West Side OG.
Yeah.
But South Side these days, Jane is very much North Side. But
Very
thank you
much.
very much for that, Jane. That was my first episode wrapping up. Hopefully everyone...
You were great.
I hope so.
You
I hope
are.
so.
That was
Episode
fun.
1 in the can.
Yep.
We'll see how this progresses. I'd love your feedback, everybody. Keep listening. Listen to the Peanut Butter Podcast. Over and out.